Welcome back to another FPL reaction stream. It has been a while since I've done one of these, but there's a lot to talk about with injury updates. Also, a lot of 2-1 results today, especially for the home teams. And I'll be just covering Gameweek 28 in general, looking ahead to the upcoming deadline, which is in 29, or at least that's the game week, the number of it. And your fantasy content will be headed your way very soon as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that. There won't be a best limitless or wildcard team because once more, we get unlimited transfers, and that's where I'll talk about the best team overall and also a first draft, as well as my team selection. The same goes for deadline streams for both FPL and UCL Fantasy throughout the course of the season. Drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and click the hype button. This will be a sort of, a chill stream, so to speak. So I'll try my very best to get through every single question and comment, which is always the aim, but maybe it'll be a bit more realistic this time round. But keep on showing support to the channel. Thank you to those that are tuning in now. It's always greatly appreciated. And I was thinking of doing one yesterday, but to be honest, I felt like there were more twists and turns on the Sunday, and that's why I kind of left it for today instead. And also stay tuned for the transfer tips heading into Gameweek 29, the best wildcard squad, my team selection, and of course you get it, another deadline stream next week. Easy says, what happened to Haaland? I will cover that very soon, but essentially it's not a big injury, but it was enough to see him miss the Leeds game. Why did Pep not talk about this before the deadline? Well, I think that's a common thing for managers not to reveal big news like that before a match. And of course, sometimes they just give you the sort of truth and they tell you what's happening. But this might have been something that happened just before the game kicked off. So going into the Saturday, Haaland maybe wasn't feeling quite right, and they didn't risk him. A bit similar with Odegaard today with Arsenal, not even in the squad. There are FPL creators changing Haaland captaincy last minutes. Are these creators having inside information? I can't really speak for other people, to be honest, so I'm not going to give you a direct answer to that because, honestly, I wasn't even aware of that, to be fair. But thanks for bringing it to my attention, I guess. In terms of myself, I can only speak for what happened with me. I captained Haaland, and a lot of jam there with the vice captaincy. Probably the biggest jam I've had with the vice ever. It's going to be right up there for sure. Definitely this season. Mad game week, -8, still got 74 points. Boom. Yep, 74 points is good. That's what I'm currently at, and I took a -4 hit, but I sold Timber, and he played really well today, scored the winner against Chelsea, and luckily I bought Van Dijk, and I also bought Wilson, who I sold last week like an idiot, and a few weeks ago I sold O'Reilly for Timber, and there was a massive swing there. So FPL is a bit crazy sometimes. You make a decision in good faith, and sometimes it's well thought out, and you just get absolutely, well, you can say one way or the other. You either gain a lot of points or you're left feeling a bit hard done by. And I think in terms of recent transfers, I have been a bit unlucky, but you could argue that it's sort of balanced out with the vice captaincy this week. Chris Kavanagh being a terrible ref yet again, who would have thought? To be fair, a lot of referees are horrible. I mean, you look at the Man City game, there was a handball incident there. With the Arsenal match as well against Chelsea, a few counterattacks stopped. Then you see the Declan Rice penalty just before Chelsea scored the equaliser at the time. So, yeah, I think the referees in general are quite poor. I've complained about them so many times, especially to friends and stuff, but I've tried to just make an effort to not really give too much attention to them because it is a very tough job, but they don't really make it, well, they don't make it easy on themselves because they are so inconsistent. Even with the Fulham goal against Tottenham, you could argue that last week, you know, the Gabriel dive when Colomwani scored the equaliser at the time as well. So it's just horrible officiating all round. Was surprised not to see Andersen in the squad for Fulham. Yeah, he's ill, and I'll show you that confirmation very shortly. And it was a big shame because it would have been quite handy to have Andersen come off the bench. Maybe Fulham would have kept a clean sheet as a result. And I think Defcon would have been very likely. So at least 4 points, but instead I had Mane coming on for 2 points. But it is what it is, right? I was still very fortunate with the Bruno Vice captaincy there. How bad is O'Reilly's injury? Yeah, so O'Reilly's injury, I'll try to give you an update on that as well. That's actually one of the ones I didn't have set up, but I do have the updates on Wilson, who also had a few issues as well. Erling Haaland and Joachim Andersen, those are the main ones, but O'Reilly has been in great form recently. I don't think it's a massive issue, but I will have a look and see if I can get an update. Some of the websites I usually use, unfortunately, aren't really working at the moment, which is a bit strange, but yeah, I'll keep you posted on that. And also in my future videos, as well, the transfer tips, that's where I could maybe revisit Nico O'Reilly. And I still stand by what I said. I think short term he's a good option. I just expect a drop off from the goal scoring that we've seen recently, but he came very close to scoring against Leeds, and that would have been another double-digit haul as a result. So let's see if I can find this. Probably not, actually. It's going to be quite difficult to find this. Even of Andersen as well, by the way, who scored as a substitute. Yeah, I think O'Reilly, he twisted his ankle. But, yeah, he tried to continue. He had to come off. But, yeah, I don't know too much about it. I don't know what Pep has said as well. That'd be quite helpful. But I'll have a look, and hopefully we can have more clarity on the situation. But I wouldn't expect to get definitive updates until closer to the Gameweek 29 deadline. And as Easy pointed out, sometimes you don't even get that clarification because Erling Haaland just missed out to all of our sort of surprise and bewilderment. But that's just the way the game goes sometimes. So let's see. Yeah, I don't think he even mentioned Nico O'Reilly. He only spoke about Erling Haaland, from what I've seen. So yeah, I'll keep you posted on that. There are knocks and minor injuries in some games as well. How's the condition of these players before Gameweek 29? That'll be talked about very soon. You've asked this before as well about FPL being a game of luck. I've always been very consistent on this. A lot of the points and swings are down to luck, but if you make good decisions, if you plan and you adapt with experience as well and having a clear idea of what you want to do, you give yourself a better platform to get lucky. But ultimately, the game is more luck than skill, that's for sure. But it's not like skill doesn't exist, or at least good decision making, because sometimes you are rewarded with that, but not always, that's for sure. Right now, I don't want to think too much and just make transfers. Yeah, I did that last week actually, or I should say on Friday, where I bought Van Dijk and Wilson for a -4 hit, even though Timber did well. In the end, those transfers have actually gave me a decent number of points. Now, that might swing the other way next week, but I think it's better not to overthink, which is maybe my biggest weakness in FPL terms. I think sometimes just going with it, making a decision, sticking with your guns, and yeah, giving them time to actually produce is the way to go. Bought in Harry Wilson for Rice last night before his return today to avoid the price changes on the pair of them. Fixtures are too good to ignore for Wilson in the short term. They do turn a little bit fairly soon when they face Liverpool and Brentford, but yeah, I think Wilson could still score in those games, so I don't mind keeping him for those as well. I even talked about this before, like, we don't have to sell him, despite the blanks he was getting, and before Sunderland, I thought the Black Cats will get a win, and then you see, for example, the alternatives elsewhere, so I was quite happy to sell Wilson last week, but I realised there was a mistake. He got an assist, a maximum bonus, and the fact he had Tottenham up next, I had to buy him in, to be fair, but I didn't expect this level of return this week, to be honest, but he was in my top 10 captaincy list, so yeah, I do like Wilson. He's by far the best Fulham asset. Joachim Andersen would be second, and of course he missed out with illness, but yeah, I think Wilson is a really good acquisition. He's also cheaper than Rice, but yeah, Rice got an assist today and another decent performance against Chelsea. Mini League leader had advice on Timber. The guy has unbelievable luck, clearly never bothered checking. Yeah, Timber scoring isn't really a common theme, but he has stepped up his output this season with a brace against Leeds in Gameweek 2, I think it was. He also scored against Bayern Munich and a couple of assists as well, but yeah, it is what it is, right? Captain Bruno anyway. Annoying that all these people got lucky with Bruno vice captaincy after Haaland being out. Yeah, I completely get that, and I admitted it from the get-go. I was very fortunate there, but yeah, Bruno had a few bad weeks recently, and I also think the red card definitely helped. And if we analyse Bruno's returns, if we're being honest, that was heavily influenced by the red card and the penalty, which is very contentious to say the least. So yeah, that compounds the luck of Bruno vice-captainers like myself, and I completely accept that, but yeah, I think on another day, Bruno blanks, and we're not even talking about this at all. So, yeah, I think Man United got a bit fortunate there. So did Bruno owners, and especially those that vice-captain him like myself. But, yeah, after the sort of bad luck and swings I had recently with transfers, I'm going to take it, to be quite honest with you. Haaland to Sesko, anyone? He's in great form recently, but I wouldn't make that move. Let's see how serious this Erling Haaland injury is, but according to Pep, it's not too bad. DM McDonald says, was looking very good yesterday, but Bruno totally killed me because so many people would have had him vice-captain. Happy with the 63 pointers on the whole, though. I will show you the captaincy figures, which are very interesting. And It's going to be no surprise to anybody, but Bruno was the most vice-captain player this week, even in the top 10k, with I think 34%. And Erling Haaland was the most captain player, even at that sort of upper echelon of FPL. And yeah, a lot of luck is involved there. Transferred in Wilson for Enzo for 12-pointer. Yep, same here. But I also sold Timber for Van Dijk for a hit, swings and roundabouts. With Haaland captain, vice on Bruno, 88 points of bonus and auto subs. Finally had a good week and broke into the top 80k. Great rank, nice rank rise, and decent performance overall. Some luck there involved, but also good decisions like buying in Wilson. And I can only speak for myself, but I realized I made a mistake by selling him last week, so I took the plunge and I just bought him back. And I even mentioned this in my team selection where timing is so important. If I had just kept Wilson last week, I would have sold Enzo to Semenyo this week, and I would have saved the -4 hit in the process. Even a couple of weeks ago, selling Timber to O'Reilly, I think a good decision, but bad outcome. Sorry, I should say selling O'Reilly for Timber. And yeah, I think for O'Reilly to score 3 goals was a bit of a madness there. Should Wildcard be active now? Depends on the situation, but you still have the blanks in 31 and 34, so if you can find a way to navigate those when we don't have too much clarity on blank Gameweek 34 just yet, and also the doubles in 33 and 36, when will City double when they face Crystal Palace, that unscheduled fixture so far? So I think there are still a lot of question marks, and you could put yourself in a precarious situation potentially. Now, with a bit of luck or perhaps really strategic planning, you can find a way to navigate all those blanks and doubles and still have a good platform in the single game mix. But to be quite honest with you, it is a very team-dependent question. But from my perspective, I'm looking to use it around Game Week 30, possibly 32, which is even more likely. And by that stage, we should have more clarification based on the FA Cup results over the next month. Did Timber to Virgil on Friday to save on price changes? Is this too early considering the Haaland news? Well, I always say this, if possible, try not to make transfers that early. But I completely understand that if you're going to be, well, in certain situations, you might be priced out of a future move you might want to make. But of course, in this case, Virgil is cheaper than Timber. Yeah, with Haaland, it's not a serious injury. He could be back for the Nottingham Forest game, but we don't have enough information on that currently. But I'll get into that very soon, since I can see a recurring theme in the chat with a lot of focus on those injuries. But before I do that, let's talk about the sort of breakdown of every single game. Then I'll go to the FDR, and this will also be talked about in the deadline stream, talk about predicted points, and that can definitely change over the coming days, and also projected price changes, the injury and illness updates, the top 10k captains, which is going to be very interesting indeed, and also a sneak preview of my Game Week 29 squad, where I only have one free transfer, and also FPL Challenge, where guess what? Erling Haaland didn't play. I forgot to change him out. It's not the first time this season, and it might not even be the last, to be fair, but hopefully next time I actually make that sort of connection in my head. Oh yeah, Haaland's in my FPL Challenge team. Let me actually change it. But I didn't do it this time round. So on Friday, we had Wolves 2, Aston Villa 0. The goals were scored by Rodrigo and João Gomez. And João Gomez had a great performance with an assist, Armstrong with the other one. So maximum bonus points went to João Gomez, Mosquera and Jose Sarr. And for defensive contributions, Andre, Totti Gomez and Mosquera. So looking at the Saturday games now, Bournemouth 1, Sunderland 1. Evanilson scored from the bench and Mayenda actually gave Sunderland the lead at the time. The assists were provided by Tavernier and Diarra. So the bonus points went to Mayenda, Tavernier and Evanilson, who is an injury doubt now, going into Game Week 29. And defensive contributions were awarded to Scott, Senesi, Troffert, Alderete, Ballard, Gertruda, and that's it. But quite a few players there, to be honest. In this absolute classic, if you want to call it that, Burnley 3, Brentford 4, where anything could have happened at the end, and Burnley were a bit unfortunate with 2 disallowed goals, but yeah, the handball was definitely the correct decision in my opinion. So Jadon Anthony and Fleming scored for Burnley, and there was an own goal as well by Coyote. A brace by Damsgaard, including the 93rd minute winner. Kevin Schade and Igor Thiago, who has 18 Premier League goals this season, second only to Erling Haaland. A lot of assists here. Hannibal Miebri with 2, Jadon Anthony with 1, which forced the own goal by Coyote. Dango Ouattara, Henry, Vandenberg and Damsgaard got an assist. With bonus points, Damsgaard was the star player, with Hannibal Miebri getting 2 and Igor Thiago getting 1 bonus point. He was also booked, so a 6-pointer from the Brazilian. Defcon was also given to Worrell, Humphreys, Vandenberg, and that's it. Yarmouk was very close to getting it. Liverpool beat West Ham 5-2. At one point, I thought my scoreline prediction was going to be correct, that 3-1, but it wasn't meant to be. Van Dijk, Gakpo, McAllister, and Ekitike scored for the Premier League champions, and there was also an own goal by Disasi. The West Ham goals were scored by Soucek and Tati Castellanos, and plenty of assists here. Ekitike with 2. I'm not really happy about selling him then, from a couple of weeks ago. Frimpong, Szoboszlai, and Gravenberch, whilst Diouf and Bowen got 1 for West Ham. So the bonus points went to Ekitike, McAllister, and Tati Castellanos, and defensive contributions were given to Jared Bowen and Mavropanos. Newcastle 2, Everton 3. This is where things get very interesting as well. So Jacob Ramsey and Jacob Murphy scored for the home side, but Everton got the win, courtesy of goals from Branthwaite, Beto, and Tierno Barry, who scored a very bizarre winner. The assists were provided by Joelinton, Tonali, Dewsbury Hall, McNeil, and Garner. And the bonus points went to Beto, Barry, and Tonali in that order. With defensive contributions, Tarkovsky, Ndai, Dewsbury Hall, Garner, and Branthwaite. Mikolenko as well, by the way. A few players were very close, like McNeil and Idrissa Gana-Gueye. Man City got the job done against Leeds United in a 1-0 victory. Antoine Semenyo scored the only goal, and Ait Nouri provided the assist. He also got a booking, but he was able to get maximum bonus points. Matheus Nunes got 2, and Ruben Dias got 1. With defensive contributions, Ampadu, Ruben Dias, yeah, they were the only 2 players. And for the Sunday games, which all ended 2-1 in favour of the home side, starting with Brighton against Nottingham Forest, Diego Gomez, Welbeck, and Gibbs-White scored the goals, and the latter was a stunning strike, actually. The assists were by Hinshelwood, Pascal Gross, and Igor Jesus. With bonus points as well, Welbeck, Gibbs-White, and Diego Gomez will share 2, by the way. Welbeck is clear, though, at the top. And that should be it. With defensive contributions, Van Heck was the only player. Elliot Andersen got a booking and a 1-pointer. He was 2 defensive actions away from securing DEFCON. Tottenham lost yet again, and Fulham got the goals courtesy of Iwobi and Harry Wilson, who also got an assist. Oscar Bob was the other provider. Archie Gray put in a decent cross for Richarlison, but it was a consolation goal. So the bonus points have been awarded to Iwobi, who scored a great volley, to be fair, or a great strike that hit the post and went in. Harry Wilson gets 2, and Richarlison with the 1. Defensive contributions went to former Tottenham player Ryan Sessegnon, Dragusin, and Joao Palhinha was very close to getting DEFCON, but not quite there. The same goes for Diop as well, from Fulham. He was the Joachim Andersen replacement. So Manchester United turned it around against Crystal Palace, and that red card and penalty was definitely pivotal. Very contentious as well, I have to say that. Bruno Fernandes and Sesko scored the goals for the home side, and Lacroix gave Palace the early lead. He was the one who ended up getting sent off. Bruno Fernandes and Cunha got the assists, and he was the one winning the penalty, and Brennan Johnson got the opening assist. With bonus points, Bruno Fernandes gets maximum, undoubtedly. Benjamin Sesko with 2, and Brian Mazraoui with 1. Mbeumo wasn't too far away, but he's not going to get anything there. With defensive contributions, Casemiro and Vot, yeah, they were the only 2 players. And the last game of Gameweek 28 was Arsenal 2, Chelsea 1. Arsenal are now unbeaten against the Blues in 11 matches with 8 victories in that spell. Saliba and Timber scored the goals, and Chelsea's one was also from a set piece in the corner derby. Hincapié scored the own goal, and the assists were provided by Gabriel, Rice, and Reece James. With the bonus points, so Gabriel is set to get 3, which is interesting. He also got DEFCON. William Saliba and James are going to get 2, and even Timber and Rice aren't too far behind there. So, yeah, we could see some changes actually to our rank as well. With defensive contributions, Gabriel and Caicedo were the only players to secure DEFCON. And let's now go to the FDR until Gameweek 34, where Man City are top, but they're not going to double in 32, 33, and 34. It's going to be one of those Gameweeks, or more likely, Gameweek 36, where they would face Crystal Palace and Brentford at home. Crystal Palace are second, with Leeds, Liverpool, and Brentford in the top 5. Spurs are quite high up, which they definitely need, considering their recent form. When we look at the bottom teams, though, Wolves, Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle, and Manchester United. With predicted points until Gameweek 34, Erling Haaland is top. Salah, Palmer, Ekitike, and Thiago complete the top 5. Bruno Fernandes, Mbeumo, Semenyo, Bowen, and Mark Gay are in the top 10. Only a few projected price changes tonight. So Szoboszlai, Semenyo, and also Truffert. And Semenyo is currently in my FPL team. In terms of price falls though, Ismaila Sarr, Gallagher, Calvert-Lewin, Rodgers, who has been pretty awful recently, just like Aston Villa, Tarkowski, and Zubimendi, who has a howl in him. Quality player, but you almost gifted Joao Pedro an easy goal. So these are the updates on certain injuries and illnesses. Let's start off with Erling Haaland. And Pep Guardiola said 2 days ago, in the last moments of training, he had some problems, a little injury. It's not a big issue, but he's not ready for today. And yeah, as Easy pointed out, he didn't mention this in the previous press conference, but this was mentioned yesterday, straight after the 1-0 win against Leeds United. And he says he doesn't know when Erling Haaland will return. But if you're asking me right now, and I got it wrong with Wirtz, to be fair, a couple of days ago, but I would say Erling Haaland is back this week against Nottingham Forest. I'd be very surprised if he missed this one and the following game in 30. So with Fulham, very simple update. Marco Silva confirmed that Joachim Andersen is missing from today's matchday squad due to illness. And he also gave an update on Wilson straight after the 2-1 win over Tottenham. Wilson said at half-time he might need to be taken off. We waited a bit, but he got a knock. So nothing too serious, but it was enough to have the player ask for a substitution potentially, and in the end he was taken off there as a precaution. So now this is where things get very interesting with the top 10k captains. Well, let's look at the vice first. Bruno Fernandes had 34% vice captaincy in the top 10k, but if we look at the top 10k captaincy, to be fair, 18% also went for him. So yeah, as you're seeing here, over half of those managers in that sort of elite bracket at the moment did have Bruno Fernandes as their final captain, and this is going to change things as well. Those who are outside the top 10k will now enter that sort of bracket because of that captaincy, as one prime example. But Erling Haaland was the most template pick this week. After Fernandes, we had Ekitike, Thiago, Semenyo, but really what you see here is a massive gap between first and second, and even between Fernandes and the rest of the pack. But in terms of other vice captaincy, which could be interesting, so apart from Fernandes and Haaland, there was Thiago, who got 6 points. Ekitike would have been a very decent one, actually, with 3 goal contributions and maximum bonus points. Semenyo is decent at 8 points, but yeah, Bruno Fernandes captainers definitely were the sort of standouts this week, unless you had that really big differential that came through for you. But let me know your thoughts in the live chat. Did you have Bruno captain or vice? Did you have somebody else entirely? There might be a few Ekitike captainers in the chat. So somebody asked me about triple captaining him, which I wasn't really too in favour of, but it would have been a pretty decent return, to be fair. So if you did go with it, fair play. And that's why you don't always listen to me. But maybe my triple captain will end up matching him or doing better. Who knows at this point? We can talk about that at the end of the season. So with FPL.team, this is a sneak preview of Gameweek 29, where Andersen and Wilson are doubtful. Obviously, Andersen is ill, but I think he should be available against West Ham. Both Wilson and Haaland have minor issues, but there is a chance they miss out in Gameweek 29. But apart from that, I'm in a decent place. One simple move I could do, just to give me more reinforcements, is to sell Nathaniel Klein to Hill or a defender at 5.3 million or below. And by doing so, I mean, Hill would face Thiago this week. It would be a clash, but I could have him first on the bench and Dalot second. So I've got some decent coverage, at least. And if Haaland is still doubtful, I am considering something a bit different with the captaincy. So one of Fernandes, Wilson, or Antoine Semenyo. I don't think Rodgers is actually a sell, and I could talk about this in my upcoming transfer tips, facing Chelsea and Manchester United up next. I think Rodgers could actually deliver in those matches, but I wouldn't captain him. So I think really when it comes down to it, if I don't go for Haaland, maybe someone like Semenyo will enter my thinking. But I'll talk more about this in my team selection. And yeah, I didn't change Haaland in FPL Challenge, unfortunately, but I captained Rodgers, which was even worse, and Emi Martinez was my goalkeeper. I went for the 2 Aston Villa players in the Midlands clash. Virgil van Dijk got 7 points. Fernandes is going to get 13. Thiago with 6. And Erling Haaland missed out entirely. So that's why you need to be on top of FPL Challenge when you see these absentees. So that's pretty much it when it comes down to this. If you want to see my scoreline predictions, why not? We can see if I got any of them right. I don't think I did, by the way. So I went for Wolves 1, Aston Villa 2. Bournemouth 3, Sunderland 2. No, not quite. Burnley 1, Brentford 2. So yeah, correct scoreline, but sorry, correct result, but not scoreline. Liverpool 3, West Ham 1 was a decent prediction, but still not exactly spot on. Leeds 0, Man City 2 was probably the closest, actually. And Newcastle 1, Everton 0, definitely way off the mark there. Brighton 1, Nottingham Forest 1. Yeah, not too far away. Fulham 2, Tottenham 2. At least I got Fulham's home goals right. Manchester United 1, Crystal Palace 0. So not too bad. Arsenal 3, Chelsea 1. But yeah, I think early in the season I was kind of averaging 2 or 3 correct scoreline predictions per game week and also more results than that. But yeah, not really my best of weeks when it came to predictions. But yeah, still quite useful to see my sort of insight, why I bought certain players, like I sold Timber for Virgil van Dijk and Enzo Fernandez for Harry Wilson for a -4 hit. Let's now go back to my FPL team after that extensive coverage, even of DEFCON and the players getting bonus points, goals, assists, etc. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about this week for sure. I'm considering Haaland to Ekitike, not because of his return today, just because of the fixtures and how non-existent Salah remains to be. Yeah, that could definitely be a shout. If Haaland is presumably out for the next 2 matches and then he blanks in 31, it's a perfect opportunity to sell him. But the problem with that is a lot of the community will be doing the same thing. But yeah, I think what you're probably hoping for is that he's still yellow flagged and people keep him out of fear. But that is definitely something on radar for me. The only striker I'm looking to buy in is someone I sold a couple of weeks ago, which is literally my story recently. I sell O'Reilly, he turns into the most informed defender in the country. I sold Wilson. That was a mistake of mine, to be honest. I hold my hands up there. And yeah, I think Ekitike still blanking more often than not. We're not getting that consistency from him, but he does have a very high ceiling, which we saw against Newcastle and West Ham yesterday. So yeah, I think Ekitike in for Haaland is a really good shout. I'd be on board with that. I'm so pissed, man. Horrible week. I can't. FPL can do that to you, so don't worry about it. I'm on 95 points because of Ekitike. Great score. And yeah, I think if you had maybe if you had Haaland captain, Bruno Weiss and Ekitike, you're probably loving life right now. JFT Gunner says, could have done so much better by captain Ekitike instead of Thiago, but 80 points is still, yeah, great score. And we always look at the things we could have done to make it from a good week to a great one or something along those lines. It was a fairly high-scoring week this week. I think the safety score for me was actually 70, and I got 70, or maybe it was 66. Yeah, so I got 74 minus the 4, 70 points, and it was barely a green arrow. So it goes to show it's quite competitive at the moment. There are some out there captains, says Twisted Parky. Yeah, that is true. Salah was awful. Yeah, he's just not worth the 14 million and he's been terrible all season. Yeah, it's just a complete shadow of what we saw in the previous campaign. But to be fair, he was incredible until February or January of 2025. Then he fell off a cliff as well. So it's been over a year now that he has really gone downhill. Overthink? No, not you, Dylan. Well, I'm admitting it. I know that I overthink in FPL, but there are times where I don't, like buying Wilson and Van Dijk for a hit, which has paid off ultimately, but I shouldn't have sold a few players in the first place. It is what it is, right? What's another surprise that will happen in Gameweek 29? Well, football is full of surprises, and in the Premier League, we get them in most weeks. So looking at the next set of fixtures, if I had to predict a sort of surprise, yeah, I don't want to say it, but I think Brighton get a result against Arsenal. Yeah. They have been a bit of a bogey team at times for the Gunners, and yeah, I know Arsenal won today, but I just don't like the approach. You know, being 2-1 up against 10 men, it just doesn't seem like Arsenal have really learned from the previous draw against Chelsea in the Premier League, where they faced 10 men and they didn't capitalise, and the recent drop points against Brentford and Wolves, where Arsenal take the lead. They just seem a bit jittery, nervous, they make mistakes, they invite pressure, they don't kill games off. I think that could cost them against Brighton, and it has cost them plenty of points in this year. I think if Arsenal had just sealed those games against Brentford, Wolves, Forest, and arguably Liverpool, the title would essentially be wrapped up by now. But yeah, that's going to be my scoreline or my surprise prediction for Game Week 29. I think Brighton get a point against Arsenal. That's going to be what I'll go for. Hopefully I'm wrong. I really hope I am. But yeah, that's something I was already thinking about over the past couple of days. 78 minus 4, 70. Oh, scheiße. Yeah, I can't count. Yeah, I got 74 points this week. So yeah, I think 70 was the safety score for me. I think that's why I got it confused. So thanks for pointing out. I'll update that quickly. What an absolute twat. Yeah, let's do that quickly. But yeah, just to avoid confusion, I did get 78 points this week. I will have another look, though, because maybe there was a change. Because Gabriel's going to get maximum bonus points from what I just saw. So let's see. I'll double check that, just in case. That's weird. Yeah. Well, I think the site is down at the moment. A lot of people are checking their ranks and stuff, but I'll have a look and see if I can find a way. Yeah, it is 78 minus 4. So yeah, that's what the Gabriel bonus accounted for. So I'll just make a quick edit there. Okay, that should be sorted any time now. Okay. Yeah, it should be updated in just a few seconds. But yeah, thanks for bringing that to my attention because, yeah, sometimes you just overlook these things or you just can't do maths, apparently. So yeah. Hopefully I did that right. Yeah. There you go. It's all sorted. Lovely jubbly. And let's go through the other questions and comments, and we'll try to whiz through these because there are quite a few. Yeah, happy Sunday, Banjo. Happy... well, I was going to get this wrong. What day is it today? St. David's Day, because I was going to say St. Patrick's Day, and I was like, no, that is not right. Yeah, St. David's Day. So enjoy the festivities, and yeah, have a chill Sunday. 96-pointer for me. Probably better than the day I got married. Not really. Yeah, it definitely isn't better than that day. Come on. But incredible score, almost 100. I'm seeing some really good ones in the chat, like 95, 96, 80 something. Banjo says croissant poisoning. What is that about? Yeah, even the nature of the returns, I think Fernandez was very lucky, to say the least, and I definitely can accept that I was lucky here with the captaincy. Sesko or Raul? Sesko. I think Jimenez is a skip. I talked about this before the Game Week 28 deadline. I thought we could do well against Tottenham, but even with Fulham's short-term fixtures being quite promising, Harry Wilson is all you need from that team. But yeah, Sesko, why is he underrated in FPL terms? Because he's mainly on the bench, and when you have a player that's not getting those starts regularly, and let's not sugarcoat it, he has been inconsistent overall at United, but he's a young player, he's raw, and he's got a lot of potential. And in recent matches, he has been making the difference. So he deserves to start. And if he continues this, he's going to be a big asset for Man United in the years to come. But yeah, I think from those two players, it's going to be Sesko 100%. Is it time to transfer out Rodgers? I'm going to suggest holding him because I think he's got a return in him against Chelsea and or Man United. I'd be surprised if he blanked in both of those games, but it's definitely an opportunity. I get that because he's so template and he hasn't been delivering recently. And also, in terms of the platform for him to return, it's not really there because Aston Villa have been very poor in the last couple of matches. So there is definitely an argument to just offload him. I'm not going to deny that, but I think he's going to return in the next two. Hey Dylan, do we really need 11 players in blank Game Week 31? I'd need 4 transfers, which includes a -4 to get to an 11. It will likely be a rubbish Game Week anyway. Quality is always more important than quantity. And in a week like that, where you might not expect a high score, then yes, I think it's better to just have 9, 10 good players than sort of force in a full 11 with hits. So from that perspective, I get it. But, for example, you need 4 transfers. Yeah, a -4 hit isn't too bad to get to 11, though. I don't think that's too bad. It just depends on the quality of player we're talking about in terms of taking that extra hit. Who would that be for? Who are you selling? That would be pivotal. But yeah, I'd probably rather do that than use the free hit chip. And that's why, also playing into my sort of thinking for buying Van Dijk and Wilson, I took the hit this week and I got a lot of points gained from it, despite Timber scoring. And now I don't need to take any hits or even use that chip, the free hit one, for Gameweek 31. So yeah, I've got a similar opinion to you in regards to that. Welcome, Mina. Hi, Dylan. Good to see you. What a crazy game week. Yeah, ended on 99 points. Massive green arrow from 1.2 million to 800k overall. Great rank rise. Incredible points tally. And yeah, if that's 99, I'm guessing that's with bonus points included, but still really good. I'm seeing a lot of 90s in the chat, which is good to see. Marek says 79 points, really solid. I chose the wrong vice-captain, Gabriel, but not bad. He's still got 9 points, though. Could have been much worse. For him to get booked and for Arsenal to concede, and he still got DEFCON and maximum bonus, I think that's a success, even though it might not seem like it. It's a 4-point swing between him and Fernandes, assuming you own both of them, which I think is the case. Near everyone bringing some points. Joao Pedro from the bench. Raya free, but mostly frustrated with Rodgers. Yeah, big shout out to Raya, by the way. Some incredible saves again, even with some disallowed goals and stuff like that. But yeah, Raya was really impressive. And with him, you either get some sort of brain farts or incredible moments. Nothing really in between. But good results all round there. That's a sign of a solid team, at least for a given game week, when most of them produce a return. Hey Dylan, can you sell Rodgers so you can haul for me next week or before Game Week 32 wildcard? Much appreciated. Bit harsh. I mean, with the Timber one, you could definitely argue, yeah, you jinxed him, but yeah, I bought Van Dijk, he scored. I bought Wilson, and he got a goal and assist, so calma. Rice isn't out, but he was subbed off, and he was hobbling for quite a while, so yeah, I don't think he's out, but he's not 100%. And there have been multiple games this season where he has sort of limped off or struggled a little bit. Would you think Wirtz to Wilson or Szoboszlai? I'd go for Wilson. Szoboszlai is still a decent asset, and it's definitely a good thing that he played further forward and not at right back, which I predicted. So yeah, in the coming weeks now, and I said this before, my prediction was for him to play right back against West Ham, and then more advanced later on with Frimpong back in the team, and obviously Gomez was the one starting at right back yesterday. But yeah, Wilson would be the one. He also is cheaper, he's got a higher ceiling and more goal contributions, so it has to be him. Thank God for Bruno, Wilson, Timber and Gabriel. They saved my rank big time this week. Yeah, yeah, with Timber and Van Dijk O'Reilly, that sort of switcheroo I've done is a little bit of a madness there. But good players, they're amongst the best in their respective positions, and Fernandes, despite a few wobbles recently, he is still the best midfielder in the game. People really need to get Wilson before the price increase. The guy is inevitable. Based on current form, yeah. And the next few fixtures look really appealing. And what really helps as well is that in blank Game Week 31, he faces Burnley at home, so he could be considered for the captaincy even. After that, the fixtures get tougher. Liverpool away, Brentford away, but I think Wilson could still score in those games or provide something like an assist. Ajnor says, hi Dylan, 80 points. Good stuff. I got both Haaland and Wilson after the injury news. Who should I be selling first for the Tuesday deadline? So I did cover those injuries recently. They're not too serious, and with Wilson, it's more of a knock. I think with Haaland, it's a bit less certain, but I think he'll be back within the next 2 matches. There is an opportunity, though, as rightfully pointed out by some viewers, to sell him to an Ekitike and then spread the funds around and go without Haaland until Game Week 32. My plan is still to triple captain Haaland later in the season, whenever City double, which will likely be in 36. But yeah, I think before we get to that stage, I'm quite open to selling him for the next couple, and that could be my way of breaking into the top 100k, which is what I want to do from this point onwards. Yeah, another 90 pointer here, 96. I have 4 questionable next week though: Haaland, O'Reilly, Wilson and Andersen. Andersen is just illness, he should be fine. With the others, there are more question marks, but I think Wilson will be available. I do admit that I think the City players are a bit more of a concern, but I think at least one of them will start against Nottingham Forest. Which one? Difficult to say. I think Haaland's a bit more likely based on what I've seen. I have less information about the O'Reilly injury, but I think it was his ankle. Matias says, might start Enzo next game week. Yeah, I talked about this before. I actually like Enzo against Villa. I could see him returning, and he has done it before at that stadium. So, yeah, I think Enzo's fine. Palmer did struggle at the beginning of the game. I think it was in the first half where he had a few injury issues, but he continued. He didn't play particularly well, to be honest. And yeah, I think with Palmer, we need to see more from him. And that's why this season has been a bit underwhelming when it comes to the captaincy and a few other factors like that, because we don't really have that sort of go-to premium or alternatives to challenge Haaland on a weekly basis. So we have to be creative. Someone like Ekitike this week, or you have the Bruno Fernandes vice captaincy jam. But really, apart from Fernandes, there's no one that really stacks up to Haaland every single week and challenges him. And the likes of Palmer and Saka have been disappointing. Ollie Watkins, Salah has been terrible this season. So, yeah, hopefully we can get more options. Yeah, Dylan selling Timber goal. True, but I bought Van Dijk, he scored, so calma. Did Declan Rice get 1 bonus point? Yes, I believe he did. So if I check it now... I did go through these earlier, by the way. But, no, Rice didn't get bonus points. He's on 5. So just to kind of recap. The bonus points for the Arsenal-Chelsea game went to Gabriel, Saliba and James. No bonus points for Declan Rice. So thanks to those that are still here. We have technically just started in a way, but yeah, time does fly. Almost an hour live, something like that. So yeah, time flies when you're having fun. Smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also click the hype button on YouTube and share this with those that love FPL and UCL Fantasy. In over a week's time, you're going to get more Champions League content for Matchday 11, where we get unlimited transfers as well. And for FPL, keep your eyes peeled for the transfer tips, the best wildcard squad, and my team selection. The same goes for deadline streams throughout the course of the season. I wonder about transferring out João Pedro, Morgan Rogers to Szoboszlai and Ekitike. Definitely viable. João Pedro didn't play that well today, in my opinion, but against Villa, I could see Chelsea players like Enzo and João Pedro doing well. Conversely, I also think Rodgers has a return in him against Chelsea and Man United, but he's so template and Villa have been so inconsistent that there is certainly a debate to sell Rodgers. I think from what you're saying here, though, oddly enough, despite everything I just said, the transfer I prefer is João Pedro to Ekitike. I just think you've got more of a game there based on the fixtures, but yeah, Rodgers' form has been pretty poor. The thing with Szoboszlai is he's a good FPL asset, but he doesn't score or assist that often. He's got many routes to points through DEFCON, bonus, and stuff like that, but I think the lack of goal contributions, I know he got one against West Ham, but it's not really filling me with confidence. Hi, Dylan, play one of... yeah, just to make it clear, Joachim Andersen is not injured, he's ill. So one of Andersen, Hill, Chow. I'd play Andersen still. And first on your bench... yeah, that's a bit of an interesting one there. First on the bench. You've got Van Dijk and Gabriel, so you're in a decent position defensively. You don't need to make a lot of changes. Yeah, I think Chow against United is probably going to blank, so... yeah, I'd start Hill. That's the thing though, right? You could maybe just start an extra attacker, either midfielder or forward, and just start a back three. So Van Dijk, Gabriel, and Joachim Andersen. So yeah, the others are just not going to be on your bench. That's fine. Decent cover. You don't need to make wholesale changes there. Okay. Let's whiz through the other questions as well. Do you think it's worth a -4 to sell Haaland and Andersen / Rodgers? Wilson if he's ruled out to Ekitike and Salah? I would not buy Salah at this point, no. The only Liverpool attacker I'd be really bullish on is Ekitike, and even then he's a bit inconsistent, but no, I wouldn't buy Salah. Nice one, Ellis Coyle, up to 600th in the world. What a week, 87 points. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of 80 and 90 pointers here. Captain Bruno, Ekitike, Gabriel. I think from those players, it's going to be Bruno Fernandes still. I think Arsenal will concede against Brighton. Captain Ekitike, first green arrow in 5 weeks. Fair play, and no jam there. It's a good decision and well rewarded. yeah, it can be frustrating when you're sort of stagnating or getting a lot of red arrows, but yeah, good to see that you're back on track. I had Ekitike Vice and Thiago captain. Yeah, a bit disappointing there. Massive swing. I had both of them, and I sold Ekitike a couple of weeks ago. But to be fair, yeah, it was actually a mistake at the time because I think that week Ekitike had Sunderland, Thiago had Arsenal. But I would rather have Thiago, I think, from now until the end of the season anyway. But I might buy Ekitike for Haaland. That could be my transfer this week. I'll talk more about that very soon. Rice to Sharda, Dango or Roll. As I said last week, I just keep Rice. And if you look at this week, Sharda scored, but we're looking at, what, 7 points? Rice got an assist and 5, just like Dango. Yes, admittedly, Rice does blank in 31, and Brentford have decent fixtures, but I'd keep Rice for now. So yeah, play Rice and Wilson. But of course, we'll keep an eye out on Rice. I don't think it's a serious injury or anything. He just had a few issues and didn't feel completely comfortable. Is Munoz worth holding until Gameweek 30? Sold Virgil for him before Virgil started his streak. Yeah, I think Van Dijk has 6 goals in the last 8 matches, or I should say 6 goal contributions, which is very impressive for a defender. I'd buy Van Dijk if he can, to be fair. I think Tottenham will score against Crystal Palace. True, Bruno vice-captain has got lucky, but then again, had we gone against Haaland and he had scored big, it may have been worse. Yeah, I get that. The thing is, the nature of Bruno's returns is a bit fortunate as well. Now, he had a great game in general, especially in the second half, but it definitely benefited from the red card and the penalty, which were contentious to say the least. But Bruno created so many chances. He had that free kick as well that went just over. So he had a great game, and captaining him is a good decision, and it was rewarded. For those that vice-captain him, well, let's be honest. Like, I'm not trying to like bail myself out of what I just said. I realize I was lucky, just like any Bruno vice-captainer, but the vice-captaincy is there for a reason. You don't just stick it on your goalkeeper. I always tell people, even if it rarely comes, to your aid, you never know. There could be 1 or 2 times in a season where your vice-captain ends up becoming your captain, and something like this can change your game week or perhaps even your overall rank to a big extent. So, yeah, I think it's very important to have that sort of thing settled. What about the scheduled fixtures for Game Week 29? So you're asking me what the fixtures are. Well, I did go through the DEFCON and stuff like that for Game Week 28. So for anyone tuning in a little bit later, feel free to rewind, and also those watching on the playback. But these are the fixtures for Game Week 29. Bournemouth, Brentford, Everton, Burnley, Leeds, Sunderland, Wolves against Liverpool, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Brighton, Arsenal, Fulham, West Ham, Man City, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Manchester United, and Tottenham facing Crystal Palace. But yeah, it's a very quick turnaround, by the way. The 3rd of March, we've got another deadline. So yeah, I've got quite a few videos to record. That's the plan, and I'll try my very best. It's probably going to be another triple upload tomorrow, to be honest. But yeah, I'll do my best to make that possible. Thankfully, we do have a bit of a break after that. Yeah, 1.5 weeks, let's say. And that's where we have the Champions League in between. So a lot of deadlines, a lot of content. So stay tuned, have your popcorn, and I'll be offering you all the breakdown of future doubles and blanks. But those are the fixtures there, and some pretty interesting ones in Game Week 29. All right, so let's see what else people are saying. There are quite a few messages here. Omar says, hello Dylan, my team is Lamens, Gabriel, Gay, Maguire, Chow, Enzo, Sarr, Mbuma, Rice, Haaland, Raul, Strand Larsen, Dubravka, Vandenberg, Wirtz. You haven't used any chip, good. I'd consider using the Wildcard. You've got double United defence. I just don't trust them defensively still, even under Michael Carrick. Even Chow is sellable. Gabriel and Gay are fine. Enzo's not a bad option, but Chelsea's fixtures are terrible. Ismail Assar has been very underwhelming, and I'm not surprised, to be fair. You don't have Bruno Fernandes. I would highly recommend that. I know Mbumo's solid, but there are levels to it. Rice is still decent, but there's blank Game Week 31. Erling Haaland's doubtful. I don't like Raul Jimenez or Strand Larsen long term. You could definitely improve that attack with Thiago and Ekitike. And yeah, you've got Wirtz injured. We don't know when he's going to return. Vandenberg, I think, is a sell. So I'd wildcard that team over Mara, to be quite honest with you. And you could still find a decent platform which helps you navigate the blanks in 31 and 34 and the likely doubles in 33 and 36. Jar says, -8 to bring in Wilson, Andersen and Thiago for the 3 game weeks. I don't like Joao Pedro, Zubamendi, and Cash and their fixtures. Joao Pedro's worth keeping, in my opinion, so I wouldn't sell him. I think he could do quite well against Villa. But I think selling Zubamendi and Cash... Well, bear in mind, by the way, Andersen missed out today because of illness, so he's not completely guaranteed to play in midweek. It's a very quick turnaround. I think he will play, but there are some doubts about that. With Wilson, it's a knock more than anything else, but I'd bring him in. I think he'll start, and he's one of the best midfielders on current form, despite the fact he blanked in, 3 consecutive games before the last 2. But yeah, I would stick to a -4 there. As much as I like Thiago, I'd keep Joao Pedro for now. Bench Haaland if he is back in 30, have value tied, thinking to wildcard in 32. Yeah, that's a shout, to be fair, and that's why chip strategy can definitely play a big part, but I just think it's a very solid idea to sell Haaland to Ekitike and spread the funds around. Can't wait till the season is over, says Twisted Parky. FPL's been so miserable. For the first time I had to chase, and when all guns blazing too early in the season, it backfired. Yeah, I completely get that. It has been a very weird campaign for me. So I started off very poorly, my worst ever start. Usually I have a decent one in the first couple of game weeks, and then it tails off between, let's say, 5 to 10. And then I start picking up momentum. But yeah, it was quite a weird one. I started gaining a bit of traction and rising up the ranks in October and November, even in early parts of December, but then it just fell flat on its ass again for a couple of months. So I kind of understand the frustration and also the lack of premiums to give us those big captaincy debates every single week. I'm pretty much going for some obscure ones in my top 10 list every single week because it's a bit of a struggle to find 10 reliable options every single match day. Green Arrow off a -16. Fair play. Thiago captain, groovy. Yeah, only 6 points from Thiago and a 4-3 win is a bit underwhelming, but at least he got a bonus point to make up for the booking. And yeah, whenever you get a Green Arrow, especially after a -16, you'll take that. That's for sure. But yeah, like I said earlier with this question, I wouldn't sell Joao Pedro to Thiago for a -8. I would just do the -4 for the other moves, but more so Wilson in to replace Zubamendi. I'm guessing you might need to sell Cash to Andersen for the funds, possibly, but yeah, keep Joao Pedro. Are goalkeeper transfers worth it for the next 3 weeks? I have a Bruggen and Dubravka. Only a set and forget goalkeeper. So not just a short-term pick. Like, oh, Fulham have great fixtures for the next 3. Let me buy Leno. Don't do that. But with a Bruggen and Dubravka, I think that's a fairly weak goalkeeper pairing. I can't really speak, to be fair. I've got Sanchez, but yeah, I would try to improve that if possible. The thing is, if I'm being completely honest, I think goalkeepers have been quite poor for the past couple of months. I think Rose was quite solid until January, but with Sunderland being inconsistent defensively, there isn't anybody standing out. Even Pickford, who made a great save to deny Tonali yesterday, well, he conceded twice. Donnarumma, I still don't really back him, especially if you're trying to cover City. You've got Mark Gay and O'Reilly in that defence. So, yeah, I think goalkeepers are quite hard to come by anyway, and most of them haven't been great. I've had Rodgers since Game Week 18 and Watkins since 21. Only 4 returns from them in those 8 to 11 game weeks. What should I do because Villa's form is dreadful? I'd sell Watkins for sure. He's been awful this season, and I think Ekitike or Thiago would be great replacements. With Rodgers, I would keep, but I understand that he's very template, and there's an opportunity to go for someone a bit more differential at least. Szoboszlai would definitely classify, or Dango Ouattara. I personally would keep Rodgers though. Yeah, no bonus for Rice, exactly that. 3 for Gabriel, and then, yeah, James got 2 as well. And Jurian Timber, who I sold, but let's not talk about that. It's a balance between growing value and keeping your powder dry with transfers. Got it wrong this season. Yeah, something I'll correct from what I said earlier, because someone asked me about making a transfer on Friday. Completely understandable with the Tuesday deadline, but I'd still try to encourage people to wait a little bit until certain players have featured. And at least, you know, by the Sunday, you've got more clarity. Then before the Monday comes, all the games are done and you can make early transfers now. But we can still get injuries in training and stuff like that. So it is a double-edged sword. Price changes have not been as big of a deal this season. Yeah, I agree. You've got DEFCON, which plays a big part in that. Yeah, and the big assets have been very disappointing. Nice one, JFT Gunner, 83 points. I had Haaland captain. Does that mean my vice will get auto-captain? Yes, which is why I've got 78 points this week. with the -4 hit taken into account, is 74. So Bruno Fernandes becomes my captain. So let me know who you ended up vice-captaining. PK says, moved Enzo to Dango and kept Garner as I felt a return coming, plus similar to Dewsbury Hall. Like you said, he's underrated. Most are on Dewsbury Hall, but he looks a key workhorse for Everton. Yeah, I think Garner's a better FPL asset, more consistent because of DEFCON, and he did obviously get that return as well, which really helps you. Yeah, Enzo to Dango makes sense because of the fixtures. So far, you've gained 4 points from it, and we'll see what happens over the next couple, but one of my predictions anyway for Gameweek 29 is that Enzo will return against Villa. Twisted Parky says, important win for Arsenal, but it should have been a pen before Chelsea's goal. Agreed. Rice holding too much and handball. He was holding again when Chelsea scored and not looking. It's not WWE. I agree. I mentioned it earlier, amongst other very weird decisions this weekend. And yeah, I think it should have been a penalty, but I think Chelsea ultimately, they scored straight away anyway, so that balances out, but it still doesn't, let's say, rewrite the fact that it was a penalty it should have been given. What I don't like about the way Arsenal approached the game is I don't think they've learned from the Chelsea game earlier this season in the Prem where they drew 1-1 against 10-man Chelsea. They still did the same thing, sit back. They didn't try kill the game. And even in recent matches against Brentford and Wolves, it's just the same crap. It's like, instead of killing the game, they just sit back and soak up pressure, and it just invites the opposition, gives them belief and a chance to win the game. Yeah, so that was covered there. Archive moments. Let me know who you vice-captained. DM McDonald says, I think now that we're in the business end of the season, there's no point getting annoyed at defenders for not keeping clean sheets. Won't be too many from those in our teams. It depends how you look at it, to be honest, because usually when you are in the business end of the season, you just grind out results. Arsenal did it today. Man City did it yesterday. Arguably, both of them should have dropped points. So, yeah, it can be a mixture. But I think this season, especially since December, because look, Arsenal had that month in October where they didn't concede a single goal across all competitions, but yeah, I think since then Arsenal have been quite shaky and not the best defense in Europe, and wow, look how incredible they are. It's not really the same. So I think I agree with what you're saying to a certain extent, because I don't think there is one team that really gives you that guarantee of reliable and consistent clean sheets. Anything above 2 to 3 will be a bonus for defenders at this point. Yeah, 4+ would definitely be quite welcome there. DCL or Raul Jimenez for the next 3 weeks to replace Haaland. I'm not a big fan of either, to be honest. But yeah, Calvert-Lewin has shown more this season. And by the way, he missed some sitters against Man City. It reminds me of Chris Wood from a few years ago. But yeah, they do have decent fixtures. If I had to pick one, it's probably going to be Calvert-Lewin, but I prefer Ekitike, Thiago. In terms of budget forwards, they're probably two of the better ones, but not really feeling it. Yep, exactly that. Archive moments. Bruno Fernandes will be your vice, so 26 points from him. Gomez goal was really good. Yeah, I was going to say that actually when I said Gibbs White scored a great goal. But yeah, that was a sweet strike by Diego Gomez. The game is screwed. The amount of players exploiting the rule of holding your head to stop the game and break play up. It's bad to watch and so frustrating. But it's been happening for years now, not just in, this season or in recent matches. You need Spurs to pick up a few points. Well, I think, yeah, to be honest with Tottenham, I don't really care at this point because they're not facing City again. At least they did help us. They got 4 points from City, so thank you very much. Bonus points make no sense. It's so inconsistent. There is a bit of logic to it and mathematics, but yeah, sometimes they don't make sense. I agree with that. Worth bringing Salah to sell Haaland? No, I wouldn't bring in Salah. If you want a Liverpool player, buy a Ekitike. You don't need to just spend all your money by offloading Haaland because you might want Haaland back by 32 after City blanking 31. So no, I wouldn't buy Salah right now. Yeah, on current form and based on value, I'd rather buy Szoboszlai or Dango, and then you can buy other premiums elsewhere. But yeah, my current plan, which could definitely change, is to sell Haaland to Ekitike if there are still doubts about Haaland's fitness going into the Forest game. I wouldn't buy Iwobi. It was a great strike by him against Tottenham, and he's a decent player, but I wouldn't buy him in FPL. Only Harry Wilson for me. Not sure what to do with Wirtz, to be honest. I think probably a sell, quick turnaround, and look, maybe he's ready for the game, but we just don't have that information. Are the potential vice-captain be banned in FPL in future? If you captain this player, you're stuck with the captain no matter what. Well, no, easy. It will be the answer because the vice-captaincy has been there for years. Just because it finally actually works and is useful, it doesn't mean, oh, it's unfair and we should get rid of it. Like I said before, a lot of Bruno vice-captainers, in fact, all of them, were fortunate with the way the goals came about and the assists because of the red card and penalty, which were contentious. And then you've got the fact that Haaland missed out entirely. So there is luck involved there. But the vice-captaincy is there for a reason, and that's why I tell people, sort out your bench, captain and vice-captain, your favourite options, and that could be very helpful sometimes. Maybe once or twice a season, but it can make a big difference. Pep Guardiola is a type of manager that only answers when journalists ask. Yeah, but look, as much as Pep can be a bit of an oddball, yeah, I'm not going to begrudge him for holding out that information because a lot of managers do it, not just Pep Guardiola. So, yeah, you're not just going to give information like that voluntarily to the opposition because you can surprise them with something different like Marmoush and Semenyo up front. If Haaland is confirmed out, I'm definitely getting Huguito. Yeah, I'll just call him Ekatike because that did confuse me for a second. No one in the journalist box will ask Haaland condition before the match because nobody thought he would be injured. Yeah, but once again, I wouldn't really blame Pep for that. And it is frustrating because basically 2 days before the match, there were problems for Haaland, but he didn't mention them. It is what it is. These things happen quite often in football. Haaland to Calvert-Lewin. Yeah, Leeds are looking good, but unfortunately, they didn't pick up a bloody point yesterday. They should have. The fixtures look good. Calvert-Lewin hasn't been great, though, in the past month. In terms of my ideal front three, I'm looking at Thiago, João Pedro, and Ekatike. I know João Pedro has poor fixtures, but I think he can do well against Villa. Is Semenyo worth it over Dango, Szoboszlai? And then Wildcard in 32. Yes, I've been very consistent on that. I think you might have even asked me this on Friday. Yeah, Semenyo is the better option. Joseph Robinson says 66 points on my worst week of the season so far. Yeah, it is a very high-scoring week, so that would be a red arrow, especially if you're a decent position, but yeah, I haven't had a great week myself. It's still enough for a green, and I got some fortune that helped me there, but yeah, if this is your worst week of the season and you got 66, it doesn't sound horrible, to be fair. But yeah, I'm not sure what rank you were at before. Maybe it is a significant rank drop, but yeah, I think 70 points for me was the safety. If Haaland is injured, what striker should we buy? So as I just covered, Ekatike, Thiago, João Pedro. If you don't want João Pedro, which I completely get, then one of Calvert-Lewin or possibly Jimenez short-term could work, but I wouldn't go for Jimenez. No Wilson, Semenyo, Virgil, Thiago, and still got 81. Nice one. Yeah, 16 above safety is good. Do you think I should get one of them? Well, Wilson is a doubt now. He came off of a knock. But yes, I would try to get some of them in. You don't need to force all of them, and they are quite template. But yeah, it depends really. Man City are blanking in 31. What's happening here, by the way? Oh yeah, that's annoying. Yeah, Man City, Arsenal, Wolves, and Crystal Palace are blanking in 31, so you need to be conscious of that. And even though you don't need to get a full 11 out, and quality is more important, you'd still rather have the numbers if possible, and maybe save the free hit for a double or another blank, such as 34. My prediction when Pep is asked in press conference about Haaland before Game Week 29 is we'll see in training. I will decide it soon. Yeah, you've definitely got an agenda there against Pep Guardiola right now. Salah's price next season will be around 12 to 11 million. Yeah, probably 12, 12.5 if he's still in the Premier League, that is. -8 to bring in Wilson, Andersen, Thiago. I did cover this already, Jar, a few times, I'm not going to lie. My answer was no, don't take the -8 hit. I wouldn't sell João Pedro. Sold Wilson some game weeks ago, but bought him in again this week just for tidying up before 31 regarding Gunners players. Yeah, makes sense, and yeah, it's a good time to buy him in when he's facing Tottenham. Great result there for him. Start 2, bench 1 of Dango, Rogers, Rice. I'd bench Rice at the moment. My predictions this week were Wolves 0, Villa 1, Bournemouth 2, Sunderland 1, Burnley 1, Brentford 2, Liverpool 3, West Ham 1, Newcastle 2, Everton 0, yeah, City 2-0. But today, Brighton 2, yeah, 2-1, fair play. Fulham 1-1, United 2-1, also correct, and Arsenal. So yeah, the 2-1s definitely helped you out. I'm quite surprised by every home team winning by the same score. Yeah, the safety score for you was 73. It's worth bearing in mind the safety score does differ depending on your rank. For me, it was 70. So only just a green, despite the Bruno Captaincy jam, if you will. But yeah, it is what it is. I think Salah, if he's here, may not drop that much. Look at all the other premiums, not great. Cheap and mid players have been great. I think he will drop, though, quite a lot because he was very expensive this season at 14.5 million. So yeah, 11.5, 12.5 is probably plausible. If he doesn't end the season strongly, which doesn't look likely at the moment, then yeah, I think we're looking at 12 million or below. Are strikers FPL choices for buying little slim this season, then a couple of years with injuries and poor performances? Well, before we had Harry Kane, and obviously Haaland was, well, incredible in his debut season and quite steady and consistent ever since. But yeah, I think Haaland starts seasons very well, and then he has a few quiet periods. Yeah, I was convinced he would get 35 plus league goals this season. Maybe he won't, to be fair. But yeah, Thiago's been really good, though. After that, yeah, Gyökeres and Sesko have had moments, especially recently, but they're not really going to be that sort of like, yeah, reliable options that will give you points every single week. João Pedro's had moments as well, some purple patches, and then, yeah, a few blanks recently. But yeah, I think with João Pedro, yeah, I'm not sure about this. I think even in recent years, we've not had that many standouts. Of course, Ivan Toney a few years ago, but it kind of differs season upon season. Harrison James says, hey Dylan, 77 points, not too shabby. Yeah, decent score. Thoughts on Mbeumo or Rice? I'd rather have Mbeumo next week. Wilson and Mukiele to Virgil. Yeah, I'd rather sell Rice to Wilson. And yeah, Mukiele to Virgil looks good. Nice one there, 84 points. And Isaac says 88, -4, which is also an 84 pointer. Next week going to be difficult with injuries and benchings, though. Yes, the quick turnaround does not help. If it was later in the week, I'd be more confident of Andersen, maybe O'Reilly, Haaland, and Wilson all playing and starting. Now I think one or two could miss out. 94 points for me when Ekitike vice-captain points doubled. Yeah, great score. And yeah, vice-captaincy has been very important this week, that's for sure. What player is confirmed next season locked in your team? Haaland, because he starts seasons very well with like 7 to 10 goals in the first 5 games. That's the sort of average we're seeing from him. So that's a very boring, but yeah, logical answer. How about Ndai next game week? I'm not so sure about that. Yeah, true. St. David Raya for you today. Great saves, and he makes some big saves and great moments for sure. He can be very clutch, but yeah, against Wolves, I'm still a bit pissed about the way he threw away those points. It's not just him, to be fair. I think with Arsenal, it's very frustrating because I think they self-inflict a lot of the goals they concede and they create their own problems. For me, Arsenal's biggest enemy this season is Arsenal, and it has been the case for quite a while now. I wouldn't captain Ndai, no. Not used any chips this week, 94 points. Nice one, Adam. A lot of great scores flying around, like Lambie, who says 83 Gameweek points, up to rank 27 now. Thanks for the stream. Thank you, Lambie. Great rank and nice little score there. Joseph Robinson says 66 points was 9k. Don't want to see my new rank. Yeah, take it easy, mate. It's still a really good rank, and yeah, it might not be the same now. It isn't going to be the same, but if you're still around 20, 30k, that is still a great position to be in. Not many alternatives to Rodgers anyway. Agreed. I think a few weeks ago it looked like we were stacked in the midfield. Not so much now. Jubert the guy says, hi Dylan, rate my team. Yeah, decent. I mean, I'm not a big fan of having 2 premium goalkeepers. I think you could save a bit of money there. But on the whole, it's a solid squad. Probably an 8 out of 10, 7.5. But yeah. I would buy one of Thiago or Ekitike up front. I know Bowen got a decent result and performance against Liverpool with a 7-pointer, but yeah, I would look at doing something like that. Maybe buying Wilson for Andersen, although Wilson is an injured out. To be fair, I'd probably sell Rain instead and keep Andersen. Yeah, the Nottingham Forest midfielder is still a solid set and forget option. What player you consider? I'm not sure what happened there. Which player you consider underperforming in FPL when people thought the player can do better? well, Salah's going to be a big example, right? There are probably quite a few this season. Watkins has been awful this season as well. Sell Haaland and get Ekitike, or sell Rice and get Sharda, Verts, Szoboszlai. I wouldn't buy Verts at the moment. There's no guarantee he plays. I'd probably keep Rice for now. At the moment, what I'd suggest, and this could definitely change on Tuesday when I do the next deadline stream, but I'd probably say sell Haaland. Yeah, sell Haaland to Ekitike. Wildcard is tempting me, says Goldhead. Have Lacroix, Enzo, both Andersens, and Guy, who is now punishing me. Otherwise, it's a free transfer to Gay or Wilson. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, Lacroix to Gay looks pretty solid. And, yeah, Joachim Andersen and Elliot Andersen. But, yeah, I think this week is very tricky, and it could be very awkward to wildcard, because some of the players you sell because of injury or illness might actually start playing, or maybe some of them miss out. So it's a very double-edged sword, and anything can happen there. But, yeah, I think the wildcard will be used very soon for me. There's no shadow of a doubt about that. Probably 32, but I'm open-minded to use it a little bit earlier. Andersen is ill. He's not injured. Yeah, and I did cover that jar question quite a lot. So yeah, try not to spam, please. Thank you, though, to Joseph Robinson for replying to that. Yeah, exactly, Isaac. Andersen is ill. Should be back for 29, if not 30, but there is no guarantee there. But yeah, there is, yeah, quite a lot. Yeah, this is a live stream. It is a live stream, mate. It's just I'm looking at all the messages, trying to get through everything. It's a bit of a chill one because, yeah, the deadline is on Tuesday. We'll save the hectic chaos for that particular day. Okay, so Shah says, Dylan, I have Munoz, Timber, Gabriel, Haaland, all going to blank at some point. Shall I move on if Andersen have 3.1 million in the bank, or should I move one of the bank players? Also, would you move on from Rodgers or Andersen if not one of the blanks? Yeah, there's a lot in that, but essentially I would trim it down. So I keep Gabriel, and there is a case to keep Haaland, but I'd probably hold off before making a final decision, because if Haaland is going to miss the Nottingham Forest game, I would use that as an opportunity to sell him to an Ekitike, a Thiago, and you can always buy Haaland back. There aren't many forwards I would sell Haaland to, but those two would stand out to me, and I'm looking at that Haaland to Ekitike move myself. I would sell Munoz, to be fair. I don't trust Palace defensively. They were a bit unfortunate today, but yeah, it could be awkward facing Tottenham next, and Palace could get a result there, but yeah, Timber and Munoz are still sellable in my opinion. I would keep Rodgers, and if Andersen is probably a sell. He scored from the bench, but he is an injured out for 29. He doesn't blank, but one of Thiago or Ekitike would be great replacements for him. Are Wolves going to be a disturber team? Well, they've been decent recently, but they also faced the Villa side that have been very inconsistent, and they faced a very complacent Arsenal side who had the game essentially wrapped up at 2-0 and became their own worst enemy. But credit to Wolves, they have been more competitive recently. But yeah, there aren't too many easy games now, so to speak. Even for a clean sheet, you think, oh, Burnley, easy. Nope, they still score a few goals, even from 3-0 down. You look at Wolves as well. They're making comebacks from 2-0 down, or they're beating Aston Villa quite comfortably. Exactly, that's why price changes have not been key this season. Yeah, I completely get that. I think in previous campaigns you can make more of a case for it and to make early moves. Not so much this season. Wake Up Sid says, Raya, Hill, Gabriel, Michele, Wilson, Vice Captain, Palmer, Rice, Bruno Captain, Wirtz, João Pedro, Haaland. Yeah, decent. I know Newcastle just lost 3-2 at home, but United have a terrible record at St James's Park. But Bruno has been excellent this season, especially in 2026. Yeah, decent squad. I think the defence is lacking a little bit, though. I would try to bolster that position if possible. I think Van Dijk would be a standout, but in order to fund that move, you need to take money out elsewhere. So that's where you could sell one of Palmer or Wirtz here. Yeah, I think that would be my advice. Yeah, exactly, easy. Set piece derby today. Rice to Wilson. Yes, I would do that. Champions League, I can't wait. Getting some joy from that. Yeah, match day 10 was a bit underwhelming for me, but still a green arrow. Match day 9 was where I made a lot of progress. Yeah, Haaland to Ekitike is on the agenda. Not confirmed or locked in, but I'm very tempted. Sheru Ledge says Rodgers to Wilson and cash to Van Dijk for a -4. If I roll next week, I can have 11 players in 31 without taking a hit. I think Rodgers could do well over the next two, but as a duo, I think Van Dijk and Wilson trumps the other one. So I would go for it. I'd take the -4 hit. Hi, Dylan, start one. Who would you choose? Andersen, Enzo, Rodgers. It's between Enzo or Rodgers. I think both of them could do well. I could see Villa, Chelsea both scoring. The result is a bit up in the air. I'm going to do the graphics later tonight. And I think after that, I'll have a clear idea of certain things. Which teams will keep a clean sheet. These sorts of questions as well. Enzo, Rodgers, because I think both of them could haul. At the moment, I'm going to say Morgan Rodgers. I think everyone and their dog will do Haaland to Ekitike. Possibly. Maybe not everyone, but a lot of people. Sell Haaland to Ekitike or sell Rice and get Shada, Szoboszlai, Wirtz-Dango. At the moment, I'd say sell Haaland to Ekitike, but there is a chance that the Norwegian striker will be available. Do we know if Rodon's injury is serious? I'm not sure if it's serious. I'll have a look, though. But that's something I didn't see, to be fair. Yeah, I don't see anything at the moment. But yeah, he's a doubt to face Sunderland. We're still waiting for an update there. Let's see. I think I can get it here. Yeah, it looks like he suffered a hamstring injury. So I think Daniel Farker said, I think it's his hamstring. We need to assess him. Hopefully it's not too serious. But yeah, I'm not sure if he starts against Sunderland. Thoughts on Elliot Andersen and Rodgers to Szoboszlai and Wilson for free. I still like Elliot Andersen. I know he blanked and 1 point is very underwhelming, but I would probably just stick with the Wilson transfer. Yeah, difficult one, but in an ideal world, yeah, I'd just buy Harry Wilson. Last season, Salah's the highest owned player. What percentage ownership does he have this season? Probably still around 10%, but that's a lot of dead teams from the beginning of the season. So Salah's ownership is, 14.3%. He's just not worth owning in FPL right now. Yeah, Bruno was my vice and Thiago captain. Yeah, a bit unfortunate there. Very true about the vice captaincy. Change from Thiago to Bruno the last minute. Yeah, and for Brentford to score 4 and for Thiago to get only 6 points is underwhelming. But yeah, the vice captaincy is there for a reason. I didn't realise that I had the vice captaincy on Wilson. I was so happy he returned, but then Fernandes had to. Yeah, but what? They both got the same points essentially, right? I think Fernandes got 1 more point. So if you own both of them, we're talking about a 1 point swing. It's not that deep, mate. Our FPL app. Wait, I don't understand this. How many players buy this player rather than percentage number of owners? They do show the amount of transfers in, yes. They do that. 9 games to go, then World Cup Fantasy. Well, there's also UCL Fantasy. Let's not forget that one. Marek as well. So someone needs to sell to have him. So going for Ekitike instead of João Pedro. Needs 0.8 million. Well, something you might want to consider here is possibly Declan Rice out. That's where Szoboszlai could come in my opinion, depending on when you bought Rice. Otherwise, you're looking at someone even cheaper. But just be a bit careful because you've already got Wilson and Dango. And in terms of the midfield, yeah, we've got quite a few gems there. Elliot Andersen, Garner has his moments. But yeah, I'd probably sell Declan Rice there to fund Ekitike. Don't get me wrong, though. I think João Pedro and Enzo could do well against Villa. I've been very consistent on that. Is Harry Wilson to Palmer a good transfer? Don't sell Harry Wilson. Not for Palmer, no. Not this week. Yeah, chasing and trying to go differential to rival didn't work. You can have the same team, but I overdid it. Yeah. Look, it can work sometimes, but if you have a few examples where it doesn't, you start doubting yourself and then you resort to the sort of template picks. Wilson, Everton tried to sign him in January. Emery wants him. Liverpool exploring, but nothing major. Palace, Leeds, Sunderland, and Bournemouth too. Stronger feelers from Leeds and Sunderland. Yeah, well, now we could see him move in the summer, or perhaps even next year as well. I can see Wilson at Villa if they can win, if they can with FFP restrictions. Imagine him right wing, and if they got Grealish back with Rodgers in the middle. Does sound pretty interesting, to be fair. How many injuries would you have to wildcard? Well, there's also suspensions and illnesses like Joachim Andersen that we need to consider. But yeah, if I had a few, let's say 3 or 4, I would consider it. But ultimately, with a wild card, you want to make at least 7, 8 changes. And I probably would, to be fair, even with this squad. I'd sell Dalot, I'd sell Declan Rice, Joachim Andersen, Mane and Klein. Arguably Sanchez as well, but the rest could be held on to. Can someone please put an end to this FPL season? You got away a couple of months, mate, I'm afraid. This might be the worst FPL season I've ever played. Yeah, I haven't enjoyed it maybe as much, so I can relate to that to a certain extent, but when you are performing well, that also does help you a bit. I'm basically on a red arrow because everyone had Bruno vice captain. That kind of sums up this week, to be fair, and I was quite lucky this time round. Would you transfer Palmer to Harry Wilson? Okay, the other way around, if you're also going to make an upgrade elsewhere, like Mane to Ekitike, then yes, I definitely would do that. Twisted Parky says, I agree, Arsenal have so much talent. I like the defensive foundations and it might win them the league, but Arteta is too conservative. It could cost them. It will at points in the future. It has already cost us. Last season, Arsenal were never in the title race, to be fair. Too many injuries and the style of football and the set-piece reliance was just too much. But I don't see a massive improvement this season, to be honest. But Arsenal have the best defence still. If I saw more of what I did early in the season, especially in October, no goals conceded, 5 games in a row with no shots on target conceded, the performances against Bayern and Tottenham, back-to-back, and that sort of being able to beat the best teams in comprehensive fashion, then fair enough. It's all about results at the end of the day, but if the results start to dip and you see more of the Brentford and Wolves games where you're 1-0 up, 2-0 up, and then you let it slip and you don't win the title and you let the other trophies also fade away, that's where serious questions need to be asked. So it's all about the results. I think Arteta is a really good manager, a top coach, but yeah, sometimes he is too conservative. That's my main issue with him. What an amazing weekend. So many exciting games and overload of goals. Yes, and some surprising ones at that. For me, the fact that every single home team won 2-1 today is a bit of a surprise, but maybe it shouldn't be. You need Spurs to pick up a few points. Biggest rivals, fun games every season, and they give you 6 points this year, year in, year out. Yeah, in recent years, Arsenal have had great records against them and Chelsea, but it can swing the other way. But I get it. But come on, if your most bitter rivals go down, especially in a season where you might even win the league, that is literally a dream. Like, that is peak in football terms. Have a feeling Bournemouth versus Brentford will be high scoring. Yeah, a cheeky pun on Tavernier or Rain for captaincy, just maybe. Yeah, with captaincy it's difficult because despite what you're saying, and I agree, I might even go for a high scoring prediction myself, the goals could be spread and they're not the sort of players that give you that consistency or high ceiling. Rain's been very impressive recently, but it's a very limited sample size. Arsenal against City will decide the fate of the Premier League winner, like The Rock versus Stone Cold. It's one way of putting it, I guess, but yeah, Arsenal need to also just focus on themselves and win the other games. But yeah, it shouldn't have come down to this, in my opinion. But Arsenal, there's a reason why they haven't won the league yet or put themselves in a position where City can't catch up realistically, because Arsenal don't have the killer instinct to see games like Chelsea with 10 men, Wolves, Brentford off, Nottingham Forest as well, not scoring a goal, Liverpool. So yeah, Arsenal are a good team. They're probably the best in the Premier League right now, but they're not perfect. They've got a lot of flaws, and yeah, sometimes they're too pragmatic for my liking. VAR is sending me to the asylum. I can't cope anymore. This is subjectivity, but the level of officiating is so poor. I am more forgiving for refs, but not VAR. completely agree. It highlights the inconsistencies and the poor decisions even further. I'll be honest, mate, I haven't seen any of the controversies, so literally I'm finding out in this stream now. How did Iwobi get 50 BPS with just 1 goal, no clean sheet? To be fair, he had a good performance all round, and the goal itself is amazing. Not that it really influences the BPS. Jar, you have asked this question so many times, mate, I can't lie. It is a bit jarring. So yeah, I did answer this a few times. Thank you very much. Someone says Petrovic, Gabriel, Timber, Senesi, Bruno Fernandes, Wilson, Palmer, Mbeumo, Krupi Jr., Joao Pedro, Haaland, Dubravka, Alderete, Richard, Zubimendi. I have 2 free transfers, 1.1 in the bank. Yeah, I'd sell Zubimendi. I think you could make an upgrade there. You don't have Thiago or Ekitike, which is interesting. Okay, so something I would consider is maybe downgrading one of Palmer or Timber and using those funds to then upgrade Krupi Jr. to Thiago. Ekitike would also be quite handy for the next couple. And to be honest, with Haaland, that could also be your sort of way of spreading out the funds. I don't like your goalkeeper. Then again, not many goalkeepers are looking great at the moment. Jurriën Timber, yeah, he's still more of a sell than a hold in my opinion. You've got a very stacked midfield with Palmer, Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes. Wilson's definitely a keep, no doubt about that. But Zubimendi, I think, could be improved on. So I think in your situation, you either upgrade Krupi or Zubimendi. I think that's where the sort of conundrum lies. And yeah, in order to make that possible, I'd probably downgrade Timber. Green arrows all round, 84 points. Nicely done there. Yeah, there are a few with red arrows who are very disappointing this week, and yeah, a lot of swings for sure. It's the Prem, so much money in it, and the officials are just not up to scratch. Agreed, but that's been the case for many years, even predating VAR, and I don't see that changing until, yeah, they really look inwards and try to improve the quality of officiating. But it's a tough job. I completely understand that, and they're going to make mistakes, but sometimes the mistakes are just completely bamboozling. His name is Egg and Tea Cakes, not Ekatike, says Lewis Mark. What is this about? 58 points on a green arrow. Okay, nicely done. I'm not sure how that works, but no, I don't, Andrew Barton. Not yet. Yeah, exactly. I agree, to Stepaki. If 66 points is your worst, you've had a brilliant season. Well, he was literally around 8-9k, so yeah, I think he's throwing his toys out of the pram. My performances this season is like Spurs' performance in the league. Yeah, you want to improve that. You don't want to compare yourself to Tottenham. Harrison James says, cheers, Dylan. Thank you very much. They're not going to be confirmed now, Raul. I've talked about a few ideas. Haaland to Ekitike is one of them. Also, just improving upon my weakness, which is Nathaniel Klein, so I could sell him to Hill or any defender at 5.3 million. I'll talk about this in tomorrow's team selection. There's going to be a triple upload, most likely. I'll do my best to have that all sorted for you. Chelsea have spent so much, but still seems so far off. Liverpool, Arsenal and City. Agreed, although Liverpool haven't been great this season, and yeah, City were looking a bit average, but the January signings have definitely helped them with Semenyo and Mark Gay. I don't think that'll be replicated next season. They will be better. Yeah, I think so too. But we might see a new manager still, like Xabi Alonso, if Arne Slot has another poor patch in the next year or so. Yeah, target players against Spurs. At the moment, you are correct. I think Spurs are the team to target, but that could change in a couple of weeks' time. They are so horrendous with difficult fixtures in the future. Well, in terms of the FDR, I think they're 6th until Gameweek 34, but that is largely influenced by the projected blanks and doubles for certain teams. So, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. There is no team to target. Maybe Tottenham in recent weeks, but overall, I think this season is very unpredictable. Should we take Timber points and run? Well, I can't really say that because, yeah, I sold him this week for a hit, but at least Van Dijk scored. I would still sell Timber. He played very well today, though. Isak, 9 million. Watkins, 7.5. Saka, 9 million. Palmer, 9 million. Haaland, 14.5. Salah, 8.5. And Bruno, 10 million. They're not going to do that. And there's also this debate about making player prices more expensive, so it's difficult to have all of these players at once, basically. So they're just not going to do that, to be fair. For this game, which one should I do? Move on from Munoz or Evanilson? I'd rather sell Evanilson. The game still hasn't subbed my Haaland out for my first sub and the points updated. It takes a while, mate. It'll be a few other hours more. So if I refresh the page now, yeah, the Bruno captaincy will happen in a couple of hours. The same goes for Mane being subbed on for Erling Haaland. So it is what it is. What is the best time for using the free hit? Either Gameweek 31 or 34 in a blank. You can also use it a bit more aggressively in a double, but at the moment, it's probably going to be more likely for me in 34. Should I prioritize getting Ekitike or getting rid of Mukiele Gabriel in preparation for Gameweek 31? Keep Gabriel still. You don't need to sell him. Mukiele's injured for the next couple of weeks, and Sunderland have definitely tailed off defensively anyway. It depends who you're selling to get Ekitike. If it's Joao Pedro, my advice is to sell Mukiele instead. And you can always buy Ekitike a bit later on, because I think Chelsea will score a goal or two against Aston Villa. Harrison James says provisional team for next week: Raya, Gabriel, Andersen, Virgil, Bruno Fernandes, and Mbumo, Wilson, Dango, Semenyo captain, Joao Pedro, Ekitike, with Dubravka, Haaland, O'Reilly, Hill on the bench. I'd start Haaland just in case, to be honest, but it's a good starting 11. Yeah, looks pretty decent. Semenyo captain as well. I talked about that briefly. Yeah, probably an hour ago at this point. The best keeper replacement for Raya. There aren't many great keepers, to be fair. And even Kelleher, who I talked about skipping this week, obviously he missed out entirely, and Brentford conceded 3 goals anyway, but you're probably looking at Raya, Pickford, and Roves as the best goalkeepers. But I think just keep Raya for now, and you can always sell him in 31 if need be. What should FPL do to improve next season? Maybe add points for differentials, as Twisted Parky mentioned, which is similar to Club World Cup Fantasy, or points for key passes. The DEFCON edition is good in my opinion, but there are some inconsistencies with it. And for example, if a team plays on a Friday or Saturday, their DEFCON could be sort of changed or altered by the time we get to the end of the game week. The same goes for bonus points. But if a team is playing last in a given game week, you don't have that same luxury. So their points, or I should say their DEFCON, could be updated, but not in time for the FPL game week. So then you have that sort of imbalance. So that's something else that is quite minor in practice or in theory, but I think that should also be factored in for next season as well. Captaincy could be messy if Haaland is out. Agreed. I'm currently looking at Semenyo, maybe Ekitike if I buy him in. I think Fernandes is still going to be a good option, but Newcastle away isn't great on paper. So yeah, still quite a few questions and comments, but I am catching up slowly but surely. Thanks, I was tempted to start Andersen ahead of Rodgers and Enzo, but I understand the upside of playing Rodgers instead. Fulham don't keep many clean sheets, but Villa are terrible at the moment. Yeah, I think one of Enzo or Rodgers will do well. It could be a coin flip. Maybe both of them return in the same game, but yeah, with Andersen, you're probably looking at 2 to 4 points. I think West Ham will score. Thought all was lost for FPL this season, but managed to claw from 2 million to 600k over the last month. That's what I mean. You shouldn't give up and keep on trying and trying to enjoy the game, which is the most important thing. So at least I've tasted some green arrows. Yes, I haven't for a while now. I had quite a lot of green arrows in November, December. Not so much recently. Hope World Cup Fantasy doesn't forget to unlock the team or glitch the team like Club World Cup Fantasy. Yeah, match day 1 back in June was a disaster. And hopefully, well, maybe some people in the chat will remember. That was quite a fun stream, to be fair. Twisted Parky says Roves, Gabriel, Riley, Hill, Mbumo, Bruno, Semenyo, Rice, Thiago, Pedro, Haaland. On the bench, Dubravka, Van der Rubbish, Garner, Chalobah. Don't mind hits. What could you do? Radical best differentials. Yeah. Even me saying Haaland to Ekitike, that's not going to be a differential. Maybe captaining him would be. But in terms of that transfer, not so much. I think something else you might want to do is sell Chalobah. But I'm also quite conscious of blank Gameweek 31. Selling Declan Rice would be on the cards as well. I don't think buying Wilson is going to be a differential either, despite the yellow flag. And I'll talk about that tomorrow, potentially. Will Wilson be a buy or a hold? Would I even suggest selling him? That all depends on any updates we may get over the next day, but I highly doubt we will in time for the Gameweek 29 deadline. So, yeah. Even Van der Ven is a sell as well. Difficult one to say, but in terms of pure differential, maybe Haaland to Ekitike and captain Ekitike. So that's the way to make it from a template transfer into a differential play. That's something worth thinking about. But yeah, with FPL at the moment, I am a bit like, disillusioned with differentials in general and the lack of consistent options. Thinking about doing Verts to Semenyo. Yeah, I'd do that, even though he blanks in 31. I bought Rice for 6.7, now 7.5 cost. I don't want to transfer him out, and I now wonder if Ekitike is a must-have. No, Ekitike is not a must-have, but he is one of the more appealing forwards with Liverpool's fixtures, and he could be a great Haaland replacement if the Man City striker is still injured for the Forest game. But I don't think we'll get that information before the deadline, and if we do, it's going to be very late. Maybe roll transfer or looking for someone for O'Reilly. Probably roll then, in your case. It depends who you're selling for Ekitike, though. If it's João Pedro, my advice is to hold the Brazilian. You're not the only one. I'm around 2 million. Never been this bad. Always been top 500k. Most much higher. Top 50k. Worst year 1.4 million. And didn't touch my team till January. Yeah, and that can also influence your enjoyment of the game. But yeah, it is what it is, right? And I think if we had at least more premiums, more consistent options and more variety, that could also help a lot. I get you, but you want to play your rivals and beat them. Yeah, I get that. But for a season, yeah, for sure. Tottenham going down would be nice. And they can always get back up the year after, which they inevitably would do anyway. These games are so big. I mean, want Palace to stay up if we can beat them. Chelsea can go down, though. Yeah, you and the Chelsea hate is crazy. Are you planning on removing Haaland? My current plan, so just to make it very clear, this could change in the next day, and I'll be preparing graphics and doing more research and maybe fine-tuning different plans as well. But my current plan is to sell Haaland to Ekitike, but stay tuned for tomorrow's tomorrow's team selection, and it could be a triple upload for FPL, and everything will be locked in on Tuesday. I'll probably save the transfers until that particular deadline stream. Are you considering making regular transfers out of players of Arsenal, Wolves, City and Palace? I still think Arsenal are worth keeping one or two players off, so Gabriel and maybe Declan Rice. With the rest, I'd be open to selling. With Man City, though, no. I think Semenyo is worth holding on to. O'Reilly, if he's fit. Maybe some people have Mark Gay. But I think 2 free C players are still viable, but it all depends on Haaland's fitness. So I think, yeah, 1 or 2 is the sweet spot for both of them at the moment. Or Wildcard and maybe free hit for you? Not necessarily. I don't think so. Yeah, look, 1.9 million isn't great, but things can change and everyone has their own objectives, and hopefully you can break into the top 1 million fairly soon. The doubles and blanks will give you plenty of opportunities. The same goes for chips, if you still have them. I was doing well from Gameweek 1 to 12, was 300k, but then I fell off because I didn't buy Foden. For me, it's the opposite. I had a really bad start, and I was around 3-4 million around Gameweek 5. Then I got into the top 200, 100k-ish because of Phil Foden and Fernandes. Then that changed very quickly. Last season, I was 60k. Season before, 23k. 2 seasons in a row, 2,531 points. Yeah, good times, right? But look, there's still a lot to play for. I know we're approaching the business end of the season now, but yeah, there's still plenty to fight for. Last couple of seasons used to be fun, many differentials and quality players. This year, I'm not seeing it. I chose Gordon this season with a fixture swing, and he has blanked every game. Yeah, Gordon, I captained in UCL Fantasy, and he did so well for me, but yeah, in FPL, I've been very consistent for months. I would completely avoid him and most Newcastle assets. Even though Gordon last 2 seasons was getting me consistent returns. Yeah, same here. He was a really good FPL asset for me, especially 2 years ago. He was having that sort of record against the Big Six and really delivering regularly, especially at St. James's Park. Should I do Sarr and João Pedro / Haaland to Wilson and Ekitike for a -4? I will do Sarr to Wilson for sure. I would only take a -4 from Haaland to Ekitike if Haaland is a major doubt for Game Week 29. Well, possibly easy. We've had controversial Arsenal C games in the past. Even the Arsenal home win, the 1-0, where Bernardo Silva should have been... Sorry, Kovacic should have been sent off. Then you had the red card to Trossard, which was ridiculous in my opinion, but there you go. Are you planning on removing Haaland? Yeah, like I said, that's the current plan. That could change though. Stay tuned for the team selection and my deadline stream. Even if he was out, I still don't think I'll try to sell to get Salah. No, I definitely wouldn't buy Salah anyway, but from my perspective, it just makes sense. The way to get Ekitike and maybe captain him is to sell Haaland, because otherwise, with 1.5 in the bank, what do I do? Maybe sell Rice to a cheaper midfielder? That could work, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure about that. Yeah, it's something I'll think more of this night, tonight when I'm making the graphics and having things set for tomorrow. Looking at the upcoming fixtures, West Ham have the biggest problems. Yeah. For me, it's between Forest and West Ham to get relegated. I think Spurs will stay up. If Andersen to Ekitike, Joao Pedro. If I'm buying one now, it's going to be Ekitike, but Joao Pedro has been more consistent recently. I've been very consistent on this as well about chip strategy. My current plan, which is still subject to change, is to wildcard in 32, free hit in blank gaming 34. I think bench boost in 33 as well. Triple captain in 36 if Man City get the double of Palace and Brentford at home. So I'd go for Erling Haaland by then. Thanks for the stream. Thank you very much, Frankie. Enjoy your Liverpool win. Iman says, I'm thinking of using the triple captaincy on Ekitike. Someone asked me that before the West Ham game, so a decent return there. 1 goal and 2 assists, maximum bonus. Yeah, I'm probably saving it for a double though. Best Enzo replacements. I already have Dango and Bumo, and I want to sell Andersen later after blank game week. Well, apart from Wilson, who is very template, yeah, in an ideal world, I'd say one of Semenyo or Bruno Fernandes would be my top recommendation, but you might need to make a downgrade elsewhere. Also, thoughts on Gay to 8 Nuri, O'Reilly. No, just keep Gay for now. O'Reilly's a doubt with an ankle injury, and I wouldn't buy Nuri necessarily. He's a bit injury prone and his minutes can be managed, so yeah, just keep Gay for now. I've got Mbumo and Bruno, and I'm planning to sell Haaland to bring in Sesko, but I can't decide between him and Ekitike. Sesko's been very impressive recently, but I'd rather get Ekitike. More premiums and consistency definitely would have helped. We are lacking in those areas. Forwards, I think, will get massive price drops. Agreed. I think Gyökeres, for example, would probably be 8 million or less. I think Joao Pedro will get a price increase, though, actually, oddly enough. But yeah, some strikers will have a price decrease. Igor Thiago will be the opposite. He's going to be 8 million or something like that next season. I agree, and the game needs more points in it. Points for shots, differentials, etc. Well, Sky Sports Fantasy, for example, had passing tiers and also for tackles and stuff. So I think something for key passes or big chances created and rewarding players who get 4+ points or something like that, 5+ points, who will have less than 5% ownership. That could also help quite a lot. Yeah, no worries, Mr. Parky. I think it's good discussions for the game. I mean, UCL Fantasy did a quiz, or actually not quiz, a sort of questionnaire for changes, potential modifications to UCL Fantasy next season, and maybe FPL need to devise one of their own, really. Can you believe Chelsea 7 red cards in the Prem and 9 overall? It is quite ridiculous. It reminds me a lot of Arsenal in the 2020-21 season, where they were just getting red cards in every single game at one point. It is quite surprising, and yeah, surely from now on they'll start to stamp that out. But Pedro Neto, he got the yellow card originally for an argument, then a few minutes later he does a very blatant bookable offence, so yeah, he wasn't very smart there. How many teams do you expect to double if FA Cup doesn't produce surprises? I'm not exactly sure at the moment. I will do more research on that and we can talk about this in future streams, but it's not going to be massive doubles in my opinion, but if anything, 33 should be the bigger double game week compared to 36. That's what I have the feeling of, and it will all be covered in my future videos and live streams. But thank you everyone. It has been a blast talking to you for the past 1 hour, 50 minutes. If you haven't already, like this stream, subscribe to the channel, and also hit the notification bell so you're always up to date on my content, both FPL and UCL Fantasy. Matchday 11 will return next week, but before then, we've got yet another FPL deadline on Tuesday, so expect a double, possibly even a triple upload tomorrow. So if you want to see that, show support to the video, share also as well with those that love FPL and UCL Fantasy, click the hype button, also leave a comment for those watching on the playback, and thank you very much to the audio listeners on Spotify. Follow me on that platform, leave a 5-star review as well, and let's keep the conversation going. There's my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Dylan RCM, and many other ways to reach me. Patreon, there's also the channel memberships for early access to my videos, prior to comments, and many other perks. But with Patreon, it is patreon.com/FPL Dylan, and yeah, there is much more content headed your way. It reminds me of Chelsea and Leeds in the 70s. Yeah, Leeds. I remember that sort of, well, I say remember like I was born back then, but I did watch a few documentaries, especially on Brian Clough, and also the film, The Damned United, which is pretty handy. Yeah, a lot of mad stuff is going on at the moment. There was even something about the Finalissima potentially being postponed between Argentina and Spain because of what's happening in Qatar, as another example. That isn't confirmed just yet, by the way, but yeah, there's a lot of volatility in the world right now, that's for sure. But yeah, hopefully everyone takes care of themselves and enjoys FPL, UCL Fantasy. We get green arrows, and also wishing you all a lot of happiness and good health. I'll see you very soon for more FPL and UCL Fantasy content. So yeah, on Tuesday, I'll be back, and there could be a triple upload in between.